Hi, welcome to my podcast, Talking Travel with Wendy. I travel the globe interviewing really cool people in small hospitality and tourism businesses. Join me each week as I discover and share something or someone new with you. You can find more at www.travelwithwendy.net. And remember, it's always an adventure when you travel with Wendy. Hi all, hello my faithful listeners. Thank you so much for coming back. It has been a busy, beautiful year, but I'm back to tell you a little bit of an overview of my small group trip to Portugal and the gorgeous wine country along the Douro Valley this spring. We began our journey in one of my favorite European cities, Lisbon, and made our way north to Porto. I partnered again with Riviera River Cruises on the Douro Splendour as this itinerary really fit a slower, more intentional experience. The Douro is not like other river cruises in Europe. I've gone down the Danube, I've done the Rhine, and this one's just a little different. This cruise adventure sails during the day and ports at night, which is quite lovely and is also kind of reminiscent of the waterbeds from the 70s and 80s because you just rock yourself to sleep. There's also fewer ports, but a few more locks, and you have to share the lock space, and there's a whole history and political situation around the locks in Portugal, so that I found to be very interesting. We began our trip, however, in Lisbon because there is easier flight connections from the States, and we spent a few days there, and there's more I'll include as well in upcoming podcast about that and touring the city in 2024, which is a little bit different. But today's podcast is just kind of an overview of our small group tour I had, and definitely will share more highlights in upcoming content. So in Lisbon, this country is just rich in history, vibrant culture, and stunning landscapes. So in Lisbon, we stay at the Hotel Real Palacio. It is located in the heart of the city and not too close to all the noise and surroundings that are located in the Moorish district. However, it is close to the train line and you can hop into the city quite easily. Everything is in English, so you don't have to worry about speaking Portuguese. Plus, this hotel is family owned and you can feel their amenities, breakfast, and customer service as soon as you arrive. If you make a reservation, I'll put the links below. Tell Marta I said hello. She's the guest relations manager and she's super helpful with tours, questions, advice, and reservations. So tell her I said hi. This was my third visit to Portugal and second to Lisbon. I love it. And one visit to this country and you'll understand why it's on everyone's must-see list and now maybe where you're going to retire or move to list. So let me just start by saying I really like this city. It's super clean and welcoming. As we wandered through the cobbled streets of Alfama, this is the oldest district in Lisbon. You can see the tiles, the colored facade, and you can hear the sounds of the fado music drifting through local taverns. This is a unique genre of music that was set to sailors as they were going out to sea because the ones they left at home weren't sure they were going to see them again. And you can feel this throughout the entire city, wherever you go. On our return after the river cruise, we also stayed a little bit in Lisbon as well and visited a few areas that I just love. One of them was Belem, and Belem is located just on the outskirts of the city. You can hop on a tram that's quite easy to catch from the main area of Lisbon and take you out to Belem. This is where pastéis de Belem can be found. These are creamy custard tarts and they sell thousands of them every single day, and you can smell the aroma outside the shop before you even arrive. But get there early because it's super hard to get a table, and Belem has always been bustling. Every time I visit, there is the monastery of Geronimos that's located there. That's the 16th century Gothic architecture that is just magnificent and is a World Heritage Site for UNESCO. Across the street is the Monument to the Discoveries. This is a 1497 dedication to Vasco da Gama, one of the first explorers who set sail on his way to India. And there's also just a multitude of Portuguese discoverers who sailed out to sea not knowing what they were going to come up against. Like, these are not flat earthers. So anyway, you're going to see more. I'll share definitely more into detail with the Lisbon content that comes out. After our short stay in Lisbon, we made our journey to Porto, but before I did that, I hooked up with my friend Marta from We Hate Tourism Tours. I just love this company. I've known them now for several years, and I do use them for small group tours when I have clients going there because they just add such a great personal touch. And they do not do large groups because they really respect and honor the local small businesses as well as off the beaten path places. So I will put the links to them below. Feel free to just use them because they're fantastic. So on our way up, we decided to do a day trip to Porto and stop at the Fatima, or the Sanctuary of the Fatima. And this, of course, is known because it is part of the Camino de Santiago trail that many Christians follow as they trek, the missionaries trek from Europeans' histories past. So this is just fantastic. One of the most moving things we saw while we were there was the pilgrims that in the last portion to the cathedral, they will walk and pray on their knees, and there's a whole area that is protected so their knees don't get scraped or anything. It's just pretty incredible. And they say that the pilgrims pray the last few meters before they get to a church, and it was really magnificent to see this faithfulness. The next stop was Coimbra, and this city had super narrow streets that were bustling with people and restaurants, and there's libraries too. There's also a big university, and we actually got approached by a few graduates from the university who were fundraising for their graduation party. They asked if they could take a photograph with us and add to their books for just a few euros, and of course, what's the old saying? When young children are asking in fundraising, you just go ahead and throw them a few euros or dollars. So before we set sail on the Douro, we arrived in Porto later in the afternoon, and I really love this town as well. It's just a fun town. It's vibrant and alive, and if you're in Europe, one of my travel tips is fly into Porto versus Lisbon because a lot of times it's more affordable and the airport is really lovely and organized. It is on the outskirts of town, so you don't hear the airport traffic as well. If you're in Europe and you are trying to get to Portugal, then definitely choose Porto over Lisbon to fly into. Our riverboat, the Riviera River Cruises Douro Splendour, was docked right under the bridge, so it was just a beautiful, breathtaking sight at night as we set sail into the sunset to begin our water journey. So with a small group of travelers, we set sail on these tranquil waters, and we were surrounded immediately by terraced vineyards and rolling hills. I'm going to share a little bit of our each day itinerary today, but I will go more into detail. You can find more definitely in my blog as well. One of the most memorable experiences was our day trip to Salamanca, Spain. We discovered so much historical, stunning architecture, and the University of Salamanca is one of the oldest in the world. We also had so much fun here as we saw flamenco dancing and had lunch inside an old Palacio. Definitely you'll want to see the video for that. The bus ride from the boat port in Portugal to Salamanca is a little long. We enjoyed walking around the city of Salamanca, also greeting and meeting more college students, and there were plenty of tourists as well. We were not the only cruise ship visiting that day. Another day trip was to Castel Rodrigo. This was one of our stops, and we did take a short bus ride to this enchanting fortress and stronghold and castle that sits on a hill. It also had this really strategic place in history between Spain and Portugal, and it seemed to go back and forth between different families as well as the different countries. This is still a walled-in city, and it's really picturesque and just was a special day trip too. They also served regional wine here. We did a bit of shopping, and they had popular knickknacks that were made out of cork there, which is definitely one of the Portuguese distinct different specialties. Pinhão was another stop, and we walked the promenade and visited the small old time, but there wasn't much to see here. You can tell they were trying to increase industry. However, the scenery in the harbor was astounding, and it was flanked by vineyards in every direction, so it was pictorially very nice, but there wasn't even a place to grab a cup of coffee or walk around. So we hopped off the boat, walked briefly, and then hopped back on. The next stop was Lamego, which is a riverport town for sure. It was filled with churches, cathedrals, and sanctuaries, and immediately you are greeted by the Santuario de Nossa Senhora dos Remedios, which is a magnificent Baroque staircase tilework church that just is this pillar in the town itself. This once regal town of Portugal crowned its first king here, and it has the influence of the Moorish culture as well as architecture features throughout the entire town. Portugal is filled with cultural exploration and culinary delights too. We also made a stop at the Pacheca Winery, where we savored exquisite port wines and learned all about their winemaking process, danced to some Portuguese music, and had a blast as the sun set on the surrounding vineyard. Now, I will tell you, it was really quite interesting because you could have wine ordered and shipped to your home in the States. However, I live in Alabama, and that's not always possible. We have different state laws regarding wine importing from anywhere, not just here, but if you've heard my podcast on Napa, I had a struggle just getting it from California too. It's kind of archaic. Throughout our travels, I meet and connect with so many people, and in 2023, I took a small group along the Danube for a river cruise. We made these lovely friends from England. We had such a great time. We joined each other again this year along the Douro Valley. I'm looking forward to visiting them again soon in Europe. As our trip drew to a close, we reflected on the beauty of Portugal, the stunning landscapes, the warm hospitality of its people, and the delectable cuisine that tantalized our taste buds. Remember to bring your stretchy pants, because I'll be sharing our good eats and restaurant fine dining tips that we had on the boat and more soon as well. This journey took us through Lisbon, Porto, and the Douro Valley. It wasn't just a vacation, it was an immersion in our heart of the Portuguese culture, and I look forward to the next time I visit too. So stay tuned because there's more travel tips to come. Until next time, remember, it's always an adventure when you travel with Wendy.